Hi, my name is Christian Maynard, and welcome to a breakdown of Colorado's cannabis laws. Information is largely drawn from the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. On January 1st, 2014, thousands of people stood in lines outside of dispensaries across Colorado. Some had camped overnight, others traveled from across the country. When the doors finally opened up, they became the first people in modern American history to legally purchase recreational cannabis from licensed stores.
Man to buy, Sean Azariti, a war veteran. He was in the Marines. He suffers from PTSD. He could not get medical marijuana because PTSD didn't qualify. That all changes now.
And it's just amazing for me to be able to see that those veterans will have access to cannabis now, to have a safer option.
For supporters, it marked the end of decades of prohibition. For critics, it marked the beginning of a dangerous social experiment. Many warned that legalization would increase crime, encourage youth use, and fundamentally change Colorado for the worse. More than a decade later, Colorado remains one of the most influential cannabis policy experiments ever conducted. So, what exactly are Colorado's cannabis laws? Colorado operates both a medical cannabis program and a fully legal adult use market. Adults 21 years of age and older may legally purchase cannabis from licensed dispensaries. Colorado first legalized medical cannabis in 2000 through Amendment 20. Then, in 2012, Colorado voters approved Amendment 64, making Colorado, alongside Washington, the first states in the nation to legalize recreational cannabis. But Colorado made history in another way. Because while Washington delayed retail sales for several months, Colorado became the first place in the United States where adults could legally walk into a store and purchase cannabis for recreational use. That single moment transformed Colorado into a model that lawmakers across the country would spend the next decade studying. Although adult use cannabis receives most of the attention today, Colorado's medical cannabis program remains active. Qualifying conditions include cancer, HIV, AIDS, glaucoma, seizures, PTSD, autism spectrum disorder, chronic pain, nausea, and any other condition for which a physician could otherwise prescribe an opioid. The final category significantly expanded patient access by allowing physicians greater discretion when determining whether cannabis may be an appropriate treatment. As of early 2026, Colorado reported approximately 53,000 registered medical cannabis patients. Colorado allows adults to purchase virtually every major cannabis product category, including flower, concentrates, vape cartridges, tinctures, beverages, and edibles. Adults may legally possess up to 2 ounces of cannabis flower, up to 2 ounces of concentrates, with edibles are generally limited to 10 milligrams of THC per serving or 100 milligrams per package. Those serving limits were adopted after legalization to reduce accidental overconsumption, particularly among inexperienced consumers. If you've never consumed an edible before, that 10 milligram recommendation exists for a reason, because unlike smoking, edibles can take an hour or two before the effects become noticeable, leading many first-time users to mistakenly believe they haven't consumed enough.
Here's your regular candy bar, and here's one of those marijuana-infused candy bars. You can see outside the package, they look practically the same. They smell almost the same. A lot of folks might eat one candy bar in one sitting, but that's where people are getting into trouble because this candy bar actually contains 5 doses of edible marijuana.
One tragic story involved an individual who reportedly had taken an excess amount of cannabis and had jumped to their untimely demise.
Business has boomed, but so have concerns about safety. A 19-year-old fell to his death from a balcony after eating a cannabis cookie. And this man is behind bars, accused of shooting and killing his wife while reportedly high on pot and other drugs.
Or consider New York Times reporter Maureen Dowd, who had mistakenly ate an entire cannabis chocolate bar and had written that she had thought she died. She even was placed on the billboard to bring awareness to this issue around serving size dosages.
Well, New York Times columnist Maureen Dowd wrote an infamous column in which she detailed her experience eating a marijuana edible in Colorado and the problems that ensued. She ate too much. And so That got a lot of attention, and we want to use that attention to keep the spotlight on this important issue. We don't want adults to be over-consuming marijuana, just like we don't want them to be over-consuming alcohol. And we need to be encouraging them to be responsible and giving them the information they need to do that.
So what have we learned here? Check the serving size first. And when things get scary, hold on to the grass.
This is actually 10 doses of marijuana.
Oh my, that's terrible.
Licensed dispensaries operate throughout much of Colorado, giving residents and visitors broad access to legal cannabis. Colorado also permits home cultivation. Adults may grow up to 6 plants, although only 3 may be mature flowering plants at any given time. Medical patients may cultivate 6 plants under most circumstances, although some patients may qualify for exceptions based on medical necessity. Cannabis delivery is also permitted in participating jurisdictions. And while Colorado certainly has no shortage of dispensaries, local governments retain the authority over whether cannabis businesses may operate within their communities. So, despite Colorado's reputation, legalization doesn't necessarily mean you'll find a dispensary in every town. One of the biggest misconceptions about legalization is that people can smoke cannabis anywhere. That simply isn't true. Public consumption remains illegal throughout Colorado. That means sidewalks, parks, ski resorts, hiking trails, and most public places remain off limits.
And when should people plan their ski trips to go along with the cannabis?
So look, we've argued that marijuana is not as bad as alcohol, for example, and how much you get intoxicated. But I wouldn't suggest skiing and getting high. I think that's a pretty dumb combo.
Well, they might have like a long day of skiing, like they exert a lot of energy, they might get a little sore, and then later they go back to the cabin.
That's okay, I understand that.
And then they relax, don't get in the hot tub.
I got you. I know. It's Friday. I know.
I don't know why I'm being so silly right now. No.
Have you already gone to Colorado?
No, I have not.
Okay. Pot tourism? God bless.
So
have at it, Hoss.
However, Colorado is one of the few states to authorize licensed cannabis hospitality businesses. Depending on local approval, some businesses may allow customers to bring their own cannabis, while others are licensed to sell cannabis for on-site consumption, or even a cannabis tour bus.
Yes, Denver has had marijuana tour buses roaming the streets before, but deemed illegal, and they were shut down by the city. This Cannabis Experience bus will be unlike any other van in Denver. It is required to have special ventilation. The door blocks off smoke from the driver. Sarah hopes this will be a step towards a marijuana lounge. This bus will conduct tours for $69 to dispensaries and for $100 pick up passengers at DIA, anxious to get high as soon as they hit the ground.
Many local governments have chosen not to authorize these establishments, meaning availability varies considerably across the state. Many people assume that legalization means employers can no longer discipline workers for using cannabis. In Colorado, that's generally not the case. State law provides relatively limited employment protections for cannabis users, even when their use is entirely legal under state law. In fact, one of the country's most influential cannabis employment cases originated in Colorado. A medical cannabis patient who used cannabis legally outside of work was terminated after failing a workplace drug test. The Colorado Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of the employer. However, with the recent rescheduling of medical cannabis products and current rescheduling hearings for recreational cannabis, these laws may be re-evaluated. Colorado does, however, provide opportunities for individuals with certain low-level cannabis convictions to petition the courts to have their records sealed if their conduct would no longer be illegal today.
Police say they're worried about more people driving stoned. Just a couple of hits could put you over the limit.
Marijuana impacts your judgment. It impacts your ability to react. If you're impaired by a substance, you can't drive. End of story.
Colorado prohibits driving under the influence of cannabis, and the state has adopted a unique approach to THC blood levels. If a driver's blood contains 5 nanograms of THC per milliliter of blood or more, that creates what's known as permissible inference of impairment. Notice what that does not mean. 5 nanograms is not an automatic DUI. Instead, prosecutors may use that evidence alongside driving behavior, officer observations, and field sobriety tests to argue that a driver was impaired. Colorado also maintains implied consent laws, meaning drivers lawfully arrested for suspected DUI must submit to chemical testing or face license suspension and other administrative penalties. Sobriety checkpoints are also permitted. For adults, possessing up to 2 ounces of cannabis is fully legal under Colorado law. Possessing larger amounts can still result in criminal penalties. Public consumption also remains a petty offense and may result in fines. Likewise, unauthorized distribution, unlicensed sales, and violating Colorado's cultivation rules may still lead to criminal sanctions. Overall, legalization significantly reduced criminal penalties for cannabis. Colorado didn't just legalize cannabis, it fundamentally changed the national conversation surrounding legalization. Before Colorado, opponents often argued that legal recreational cannabis simply couldn't work. After Colorado, in over a decade, that debate has shifted. Today, lawmakers are less likely to ask whether cannabis should be legal and more likely to ask, how should we legalize it? Whether discussing taxation, home cultivation, impaired driving, social equity, or public health, much of the modern conversation began here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you'd like to support my work, get subscribed, click like. Take care.
At Denver's airport, only the planes can get high. Getting busted means a $1,000 fine.